This podcast is brought to you by Rebecca Cassells of the Rising Dawn series. Do you like violence? Do you like smut? Are you tired of the stereotypical novels of werewolf romance out there and want something a little bit different? Then pick up Sparked Revolution, Book 1 in the Rising Dawn series by Rebecca Cassells. Available on Amazon, in Kindle, and paperback. You too can become a sponsor of Stories, The True and the Fictional by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes.
Title: The Never-Ending Oath. Scene: a modern conference room at the network studio. Jack and Tom, the two leading actors of the hit show Hunter's Oath, sit across from Mr. Sterling, a slick studio executive. The atmosphere is a mix of awkwardness and disbelief.
Gentlemen, just the heroes I wanted to see. Congratulations on wrapping up Season 5. The finale was... boom.
Thanks, Mr. Sterling. Yeah, we're glad the fans really enjoyed the conclusion.
Yeah, it was a wild ride. My character's death was a real tearjerker, or so I've been told.
Ah, yes, about that. Minor detail. So, let's talk Season 6.
Season 6? But we wrapped everything up. My character married Sabrina and ascended to some sort of celestial plane. Jack's character heroically sacrificed himself to destroy the Tower of Babel, and the old gods are dead. Evil has vanished. Roll credits.
Yeah, I'm currently as dead as a character can get. Vaporized while saving existence itself. You can't really top that.
See? That's where you're wrong. The fans are hungry for more. They need to know what happens next.
Next. And cosmic dust. Maybe less.
Details, Jack, details. We can work around that. Ever heard of flashbacks, dream sequences, alternate timelines?
Didn't we already, use all of those, multiple times?
Exactly. It's a proven formula. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
So your plan is to unkill me?
Bingo! Maybe your character was pulled into a wormhole at the last second. Or cloned. Clones are a big thing right now.
Clones? It's a show about hunting monsters and ancient deities.
Genre blending. It's innovative. Think about it. Hunter's Oath. Resurrection.
Sounds more like Hunter's Oath jumping the shark.
And Tom, your character's marriage opens up a whole new world of storytelling.
Like what? Interdimensional couples counseling?
Now you're getting it. We can tap into the rom-com demographic when a monster hunter loves an angel.
So we go from apocalyptic battles to marital spats?
Range, gentlemen. It's all about showing your range. The fans will eat it up.
Or riot?
Fans don't know what they want until we give it to them.
With all due respect, we had a satisfying ending. Maybe it's time to pursue other projects?
Other projects? What could be more important than continuing the legacy of Hunter's Oath?
Oh, I don't know. Artistic integrity? Personal growth? Not beating a dead horse?
Funny you should mention dead horses. Remember that spin-off idea we had? Hunter's Oath, the early years? We de-age you with CGI. Prequels are all the rage.
I'm not sure anyone wants to see a digitally de-aged me running around fighting teenage monsters.
Nonsense! We'll throw in some pop songs and maybe get a tie-in with a fast food chain.
This is starting to sound more like a merchandising campaign rather than a show.
Exactly! Cross-platform synergy!
Mr. Sterling, we appreciate the enthusiasm, but perhaps it's best to end on a high note.
So that's how it's gonna be, huh? You walk away just like that?
We prefer to think of it as leaving the stage before the tomatoes start flying.
Fine. If you won't do season 6, How about a holiday special? Everyone loves those. We can have you fighting evil snowmen.
You know, I think we've taken up enough of your time.
Agreed. I think we should get going before we accidentally agree to something we'll regret.
Wait, a musical episode.
Think about it. Did that just happen?
If by that you mean a complete disregard for all logical storytelling, then yes.
Evil snowmen?
Could be a hit in an alternate universe.
Yeah, speaking of which, maybe that's where Mr. Sterling's ideas come from.
Well, at least we know when to bow out gracefully.
So, drinks?
Definitely. Let's toast to an end of an era and to dodging season 6. Bravo! Well, that's how you get it done.
I wonder what that was about.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that was about.
I wonder what that was shadowing.
I don't know. It could be. I mean, that could have been any possible scenario. I can't possibly imagine where that idea comes from. And do you know how difficult the Australian accent is to maintain?
No. Well, not for you. I do it every day, all day long. You know.
It's quite difficult because there's a nuance to it.
Yeah.
For someone who's not a native speaker of the Australian accent, there's a nuance to it that there's certain words I don't think I'm saying correctly. Like, it would be funny to go if I became an actor and I'd have to go, could you get me someone from Australia to teach me how to speak Australian? And they'd be like, aren't you from Australia? And I'm going, that's beside the point. That's beside like semantics. You like semantics here. I can't be like Chris Hemsworth with that glorious Australian accent.
But when they switch it, the thing I love about Australians when they're good actors, when they switch to the American one, it's just that depth, that deep, you know.
The generic American accent that we all use.
Yeah.
It's like this. It's like the same in It's the same when Australians do British accents. They go, "What's the one town in Britain that we said? Like, what's the one British accent we know? Let's go with that one."
No, well, there's two, because there's the Michael Caine. This will probably offend Neil. There's the Michael Caine, you know, the more Cockney one, and then there's the Bridgerton, whatever. You know, oh yeah.
No. I want an Australian to go to Manchester to learn an accent so he can ask it. So during his scene, he'd be going, "Let's go get some lunch." And I want him to do it well, and I want him to do it properly. What do you think, Neil? What say you?
I don't know. Manchester will be more. Kid.
I'm talking fancy Manchester.
Yeah.
Or I want him to go to
Fancy
I want him to go to Liverpool and learn to talk like a Stouser, and then I want him to take that to the stage.
That would be Klingon.
Oh.
Lots of phlegm.
I don't know. Like, or here I do. Let's go a little bit brummy. Let's a little bit higher the pitch. Like
Phil Bailey.
yeah, Phil Bailey. Yeah.
You know he auditioned for Lord of the Rings as Gimli.
Did he?
Yeah.
As a brummy?
I think so. Like I said, I think they said this is the kind of accent we want, and he went, "Oh yeah, as you." I don't know.
Regional accent.
Yeah.
I love England with their many regional accents.
They're all like half an hour from each other.
I know. That's what makes it, Neil. Like,
it's funny because it's true.
I know, but how is this possible that
Neil?
you have that your country fits inside of Texas, like geographically, and like.
No, more importantly, I want to break this down now because you're from over there. Okay, so you got your like half-hour differences in every accents. What about the border? Is there a new like transforming accent there, or is it like if someone lives on one side of the street and someone lives on the other side, it's different accents? Like, is there a blending?
Yeah, I mean, Wales. There's quite a gap when you go across the border. It is just fields and hills.
Right.
And there's a good 10 minutes where you're driving at full speed before you start to reach civilization, and and then they all start to sound
Different, yeah.
Welsh.
It's like a portal.
And then the further you go from where I'm at, you come across into the north of Wales. They sound a bit Welsh. And then you go about halfway along and then you start going south. And the further south you go, the more Welsh everyone sounds and the less English there is on all of the signposts.
I've heard about that.
Sorry about that.
Which it's quaint. And then Scotland, just like England, Glaswegian is very different to Edinburgh. And yet there's a short drive on the motorway between the two.
It's crazy.
So we have a great many accents. Apart from Hollywood just goes, like you said, ooh, Mr. Darcy, the Bridgerton, ooh. And then Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Cool, blimey, Mary Poppins. And that's it. That's it.
Because I did wonder that because I've met people so I know people from Leeds and the sort of the Northern English accent, which I like.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then I just watched like Game of Thrones where they're trying to do a Northern England accent. I'm like going, what? That's too articulate. What type of accent are you doing? Because it's not Northern England. Because like you're not meant to be. I can understand 3 of every 5 words that someone from Leeds says in terms of their accent.
Or Sean Bean, who's just Sheffield in everything he does.
Oh, is that yeah, the Sean Bean accent. See, that's the accent. That's the Sean Bean is the accent that they all try to do now. I think so. That's interesting. So everyone sounds like Sheffield from England.
You think Sean Bean gets a lot of phone calls?
Getting a northern twang is less important if you're going for the Sean Bean than just saying bastard every other word.
Bastard, yeah, yeah.
Anyone listening, open another tab, go onto YouTube and type in Sean Bean bastard, and you will have a marvelous compilation of everything from Sharp all the way through to Game of Thrones, where he just says bastard.
Bastard.
It's like the Owen Wilson wow video.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
no.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Again, I love to hear about England and their, I because as a fan of history and someone that studies like fallen civilizations, I like to get a little bit of an early head start on this one. Oh, I went there.
It's funny because it's true.
I went there. Because we all again, we've all had the jokes and how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And very soon there'll be ones like, how often do you think about the British Empire? Like, yes, the fall of Western civilization. Yeah, that was a good one. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into the late stage of Roman Empire, which is where we're currently sitting. All right, well, actually, let me clarify it, Neil. Wait, now, I want to ask you this one, Neil, as a learned man. Do you think we're at the late stage of the Roman Empire, or are we at the late stage of the Roman Republic, where someone will soon rise up and take us into a glorious empire? Where do you think in the timeline of the world we sit right now? Now, so are we late stages? Are the Goths about to invade and like take us over and destroy our civilization, or is a great figure about to rise up
I'm holding out for a hero
and lead us into the glory of Augustus? Is Augustus coming to save us or no?
There are no heroes coming to save us. Anyone who showed that potential has just been a massive letdown. So the only ones to save this empire would be its own people. I can't say anything beyond that without getting a knock at the door from MI5.
Well, again, we all know we all need to do. We need to go down to El Salvador and say to the president, "Have you thought about expanding your empire?" Just
No, Chris. We need to build a political Avengers team.
Mhm.
So you get the El Salvador. He can be the Nick Fury or the Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Then he needs to swing by Argentina.
Yeah, swing by Argentina.
He might. I don't know. I see him as a kind of a Hulk, you know, because he's like, "Wow," maybe Hungary. I don't know. I don't put too much thought into it.
No,
But yeah.
Poland. We gotta get the Polish president here. The Polish guy. Don't come to our country. we gotta get like, yeah, we have no room for you. Gotta get the Polish guy. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. And then, like, no way, shape, or form will their countries just fall apart when
they leave. No. Look, like good leaders, they will have successes, obviously.
Yeah.
But the point is, they still lead their countries, but they only get called, like, they only get called when like the beacons are lit. At a certain moment, they all assemble. Oh, Jamie, if this is not a TV show, I don't know what is. and like, the fact that you've mentioned it now, and the fact that we don't have it, I can't not want this show.
I know what the next ChatGPT script is going to be.
You know exactly. You know exactly what I'm going to be doing.
Speaking of that, where is our Batman 1966? Because you said you were going to do that. Look, we've got a list now. We've got a list.
Got a list of things I want to do. But anyway, speaking of a list of things, Neil, you've made the bold claim that you've actually watched media this week. So I want to hear you back this up.
I have indeed. So my lovely wife and I have been enjoying the third season of
Outlanders.
Outlanders.
No. My prediction came true. She watched it and she said, "I have heard of that, and now I want to watch it." So thank you for your editorial decision to not clip that.
Yes. Yes.
But no.
Victory.
No. Yeah.
No, we have not been watching that. We did season 3 of The Legend of Vox Machina on Amazon.
Oh, cool.
So I love the first 2 seasons. I was a bit worried when they said they were going to do a third. How is it?
It's still good. It's still good. I purposefully didn't go and watch the recordings from Critical Role where they actually originally did the stories, because I did that with the last season. I clicked on something and immediately it started playing what could have been a fairly significant spoiler.
Right.
So I very quickly closed that, watched the episode and went, darn it, I knew this was coming. Oh, it's all right. That didn't happen. Cool. Nice.
Okay.
So we are a few episodes from finishing the third season of that, which we enjoyed. We had parents' evening at school. All 3 of my kids that are currently in school got glowing reviews. So we took them out to the cinema to watch The Wild Robot.
I hear that's super sad to the point of like depressing at the end. Is that an accurate? Is that an accurate assessment, or is it like sad happy?
It's sad happy. It's story-wise, it's nothing you haven't seen before. Very similar in tone and themes to Wall-E.
Sure.
Which I really enjoyed. So, with that comparison, I was on board. Visuals are very nice. The design of the robot is fun. Yes, really enjoyable. I would recommend it if you've got kids. I would recommend going to see it. If you don't have kids, screw it, go see it. It was a good film. I enjoyed it. I'd be happy to watch it again. So there we go. I did actually watch things.
That is so okay. I heard about that movie. I wasn't sure if I was going to go see it, but it sounds like it's a worthwhile adventure.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Any gaming at all this week, or was this more of a movie week?
No, very. This is the first time sitting at my computer, probably since the last time we recorded. So very little gaming. Just continuing to watch the industry from my phone on X, formerly Twitter. and how everything is gloriously falling apart. Schadenfreude everywhere.
Well, they closed down the Concord studio, and people were surprised and shocked, or surprised, and I was like, why are you surprised that a game that failed so badly that they shuttered the very core of it? Um, if you want to take a tax loss as a business, you got to destroy the thing completely. This is the reality. If you want to write it, if you want a decent tax break on your taxes, the studio had to die. This is the sad reality of. Speaking of studios that has to die, Jamie, I hear that you've been. How are you doing now after being touched inappropriately by your former publisher, who's touching you inappropriately? No, point to this doll, Jamie. Point to this doll and
Point
tell
to
me
the doll.
where your publisher touched you.
Um, Everywhere, all over, every single part. I don't know.
Oh,
Um, no, look, it didn't affect me like it affected everyone else. I mean, there are still a lot of authors are banding together to sue them and all that stuff. I didn't personally, I didn't get screwed over till the end. Um, but to the point where I'm basically just going to redesign and re-release the letters from the Emu War again. But I've got a decent. I've wrapped my head around how the whole process is now, so I can do it myself. But basically, kind of want to cut ties with Shoreline and move on from being associated with their dirtiness and how they treated a lot of fellow authors.
mm.
But yeah, they're dodgy. They're dodgy.
And you had no prior knowledge to their dodginess before
No,
you
I
signed
didn't.
up.
I didn't. I looked into them, but then it turns out in the end, because there was no dirt on them, they changed their name all the time, and and the guy that runs it changes his name all the time, and
That is not at all
I
suspicious.
know, but so it just means that there's no way to verify that. And I even checked with other authors, and they had a lot of the ones I spoke to in the beginning had no problem, you know. But then I think it seems that
Uh,
if you start selling if you start selling decent amount of books with them, then they kind of tend to screw you over because they can be like, oh, you only got this much. Oh, you got this much. Oh, they did keep paying me, you know.
well, apart from your harrowing experience of being touched by an author,
Touched by an
um,
author. That's my new memoir.
yeah,
Memoir.
no, touched by an author. J.A. Bryden
Oh,
was touched
that
by an
that
author.
that actually sounds like Rebecca Castle's new book.
That does. Oh, okay.
This will be another clip that she will
All
see
right. No,
and
no,
say,
no,
"Ah,
okay. Here's the thing. A struggling young female writer meets a very powerful publisher who requests that she does certain things to get the book deal. Little does he know she's a vampire. So as he tries to assault her, she like kicks him through the roof or kicks him through the floor, like kicks him to the wall of the office and goes, "Don't touch me. That's the last thing you ever do." And then he gets back up to her shock and like cracks his neck and is like, and then he reveals that he is also a vampire and she stumbled into an unknown coven and he's like, "What? You thought you were the only one?" And then like that's when she gets introduced into the world of the vampires and it goes down that path. Anyway, there we
but
go.
but they're all like a writing community or something.
Yes. Well, no, obviously that's just the front. They
Yeah.
and the whole thing is bookstores because people go, why are they still bookstores? Because they're all run by vampires and they're fronts, and
Mm.
that's how they run their criminal organizations. Anyway, um, I think society has a good at least 5 years left, a good solid 5 years before. I I don't think it'll be aliens. That would be more. I'd find it more interesting if it was aliens that come down.
No, I think they've seen it and have just decided to stay away.
Hmm.
I think society has been drip fed all of these leaks and rumors about UFOs and aliens to the point where
Mm.
we could have an Independence Day scale alien invasion, and people will just look up and go,
Oh wow.
right, what the media trying to cover up now?
That would be a movie.
Which politician has done what for them to bring this out?
Yeah. Oh wow. Wait.
Yeah.
Wait.
Everyone turns around and looks the other way. It catches a politician doing something they shouldn't be.
That honestly, that would be funny.
Well, that was a thing. That was a thing for a while where, the White House is giving a press briefing on more evidence of the existence of UFOs, and everyone just goes,
Okay.
"What did Hunter Biden do now?
Who did he touch?
Oh,
Like, yeah.
whose name's on that credit card that they're chopping the cocaine up with? Oh, let's not talk about that.
Like, you think about that, like, they're talking about aliens. Look, guys, aliens are real. We're like, we don't care. Like, it's
Go back to the mid '90s at peak X-Files mania, where everyone was into UFOs all of a sudden, and now the government's just going, yeah. Here's some interviews of some guy who got mobbed in an F-22 with some little Tic Tacs.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that saw a ball go from this height to this height, and the G-force at that speed would have liquidized anyone. Yeah, we don't know. There's probably aliens. Yeah, and everyone's just going,
whatever.
All right,
they're 30 years too late.
Yep.
Yeah.
Considering, I don't know where I heard this, but about the whole how the Roswell crash and all it was really big back in the 50s because of smuggling in. Apparently, they were smuggling in Nazi scientists to help
Operation Paperclip.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, so they obviously needed a distraction to not be like, hey,
like we pardoned all these Nazis because they are very good at math. Like their math is out. Did they do any war crimes? That's beside the point. Their math is. Imagine walking into like NASA back in the day, Jamie.
Yeah.
And like going, like, Senator, I am so thrilled to show you the latest work of our beautiful engineers. Yeah, this is very good. Are you German? Oh, no, not at all, not at all. I am from Kansas. Yeah, Wichita. Yeah, Kansas. Yes, yes, yeah. Oh, we have strudel for lunch.
It's reverse Tom Cruise in Valkyrie.
It would be reverse Tom Cruise and Valkyrie.
I say, I'm sorry, Mrs. Scientist. What's your name? Werner von Braun. Ah. Oh, of the V2 rocket fame, and you're helping us now, right? Oh, okay, yeah.
Hey, to the victor. No, it's American. They'll be like, to the victor goes the spoils, which also includes scientists.
What about this East Asian looking gentleman over here? Unit 73 what?
Oh,
never. No, don't know.
Don't know.
No, 732, not the other one. Those are the other guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's funny, and also super dark.
Yes. What have you been up to this week, Chris? Gaming, watching movies, taking your child to a place that he didn't want to leave.
Yeah, so he saw dinosaurs and that was the worst thing ever because like you take like dinosaurs alive was awesome because the dinosaurs moved and they're all animatronic. I'm eventually gonna have to tell my son that dinosaurs are dead and are extinct.
I don't know. By the time he's old enough, we'll probably recreate.
I mean, like
yeah,
through cloning, I would hope so.
I mean, we already have a cassowary. That's pretty close to a dinosaur.
Oh yeah.
They got claws like they got claws like raptors. They actively, I don't know how many people they've killed. Like they kill people.
Fair enough.
Like they've got a body count.
Yeah. Okay.
To be fair, the way that we do things in the world now is we watch the science fiction that has a very clear message about you should not mess with X.
And then we do
because if you mess with X, Y will happen. And then there are real scientists in the world going, if we mess with X, Y will happen. Oh, let's see if we can do it. It's AI. If we create AI, it's going to wipe out the world. It will take over and nuke us all. ChatGPT keeps going and going and going.
Let's create some AI.
Yeah. If you genetically engineer dinosaurs, they will get out. They will eat you. Someone somewhere is looking through all these pieces of amber, looking for a mosquito.
But I mean, we don't even have to. We could go to Siberia and get that woolly mammoth meat right now and start start creating like I want woolly mammoths back. I don't know where we would put them.
Can't we just make a giant coat for elephants? Will that do?
No, I want woolly mammoths walking around Siberia or any snow. In America, we'll put them in Alaska. It's fine. And I just want watch these big herds of woolly mammoths just roaming around the world. Wouldn't that be just fantastic, Jamie?
Yeah. Just quickly jumping back to cassowaries, they kill up to, what is it? 2 to 3 people per year are killed by cassowaries.
That's such rookie numbers. Cars do way more than that.
Well, I'm going to say it's probably, like they don't walk around with people often. So when they see one, they probably just go, sneak attack! They actually jump and kick you. And they got raptor claws. So that,
That is impressive.
Well, those 2 to 3, they're the ones you know about.
Yes.
Oh, Neil.
When the body gets dragged into the bushes, never to be seen again, who's to say what that creature was?
Yes.
We all know what the creature was.
Yes.
It's a raptor.
Yeah. Well, they practically are raptors.
Yeah. But not the ones we want. Not a good Utah raptor. Not a big one.
not one from Jurassic Park. Now, would you want OG raptors from Steven Spielberg, or would you like the updated blue?
I like blue. Like it's really funny. Like the raptors were like the bad guys, and then like blue happened, and then like blue's everywhere now. Like he's like everyone likes blue.
Look, it's taking an idea. You could have had raptors as bad guys forever, but they obviously took a look. You know me. I like it when they do things differently, and like inevitably it was going to be there.
The team up between the T-Rex.
Yeah.
Like
the thing that they did miss though is the fan theory that Chris Pratt is the kid from the first one in the opening scene where he's disrespecting Alan Grant. That doesn't look very scary. Like that's, and then they said, no, that's not true. And it's like, oh, you should have done it. He should have been that kid.
Should have been that kid.
That would have been so good. And then that could have been an actual good scene in Dominion when they finally meet and say, Dr. Grant, you don't remember me, do you? But you traumatized me as a child.
Yeah, with a raptor claws slashing through your stomach.
Well, think about it, because he didn't technically traumatize him. He taught him to respect. And what does Chris Pratt do? What does Owen Grady do in the end? He trains them and he respects them. See, perfect storytelling. Missed the
again
chance.
Sometimes fan theories are good, sometimes they're bad, but really, as we all know, as long as everyone is taking their ideas with a degree of artistic integrity and adherence to the world law, I think everyone can agree that they're doing the right thing.
You ready for some Henry Cavill?
I am.
Oh, yes.
I always am ready for some Henry Cavill.
Short clip from the Graham Norton Show. Tom Holland appreciating Henry Cavill.
This is rare.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Spider-Man and Superman in the room together.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed. It's not the first time we've been in a room together, though, is it?
No, actually, we were chatting backstage, and my first trip to LA, I was at the Hollywood Spotlight Awards or something. I was with my lovely mum, and I was very excited. I went to the toilet. I was 11, so I was probably about the same height. And I remember I was at the urinal like this. I remember looking up and seeing Superman next to me, and then I looked down. No!
Wow.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Yes.
No, he could have told the story better. He could have been like, you're sitting next to me. Then I felt a great shadow descend upon me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just thought it was funny. Yeah, we actually got a comment on one of our appreciating Cavill videos,
Mm-hmm.
and it was in another language. I had to translate it.
Okay, what did it say?
Well, it was in Portuguese, and this is the direct what it says, untranslated. Henry Cavill, nosso eterno Superman. Do you want to take a stab at what that is translated as?
Say it again, but do it properly.
Henry Cavill, nosso eterno Superman.
Henry Cavill, eternally Superman.
Pretty much, yeah. It translates to Henry Cavill, our eternal Superman.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, yeah.
Noise.
Who said that?
A comment like some guy on our YouTube channel just randomly posted on the video. I thought that's nice.
Well,
He too appreciates Cavill
I didn't know he was Portuguese.
because when I typed in what he said and said translate, it said Portuguese.
Okay. Well, because we are respectful of our fans and we enjoy when people comment on things, let me address our fan right now. Cristiano Ronaldo is worse than Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi is the GOAT. But let me just hedge my bets in case you are actually Brazilian. Vini Jr. did not win the Ballon d'Or this year. It was run by Rodri of Spain. And you know what? Rodri was way more deserving than Vini Jr. was. There we go. Hedge my bets.
I was just going to say, thank you very much for your comment.
How to lose a fan in 10 days. 10 seconds.
Anyway.
And for those playing at home, Chris's email address is no.
Is Ronaldo sucks. No, I can't get that one. At this point, it'll be Ronaldo sucks 1,055,000. Like, come on, there'll be just too many. And look, not to get all, it's not that he sucks, because he does. It's just that he can't accept that he's not the best. And like, I understand that, he was a once in a generational talent. He just unfortunately happened to be born in the era of Lionel Messi, and look, that's sad for him. I do admit that. But that is just the stark reality of it. And what's worse is Cristiano Ronaldo. I can see he speaks perfect English, and he's trying to like grow this big international brand of his with his because he's like handsome, he's English. Lionel Messi doesn't speak a lick of English and does all these commercials still in Spanish, and he's still way more popular than because you know what? Is it again, if you were going to make an anime about football, would you make it about and let me just give you some archetypes of this anime. It's about a football story. There's one person who is gifted genetically, tall, strong, powerful. From the day he put on boots, people were going to say he was the greatest of all time. And there was one kid from the slums who, in his first game of football, he only got on the field because all the other boys were injured and he had no shoes. He was from such a poor thing, his family couldn't afford him treatment for his massive medical condition until a club stepped in and he signed a contract on a napkin. Who do you think this anime story is going to cast as the hero and the villain? Who do you think? It's an obvious answer. And that's why, Lionel Messi, you are the GOAT. Anyway.
That has been another segment of Chris Loves Messi. Or appreciating Messi.
Appreciating Messi.
Am I going to have to start doing an appreciating Messi?
No. But here's the thing. How do we get Henry Cavill to play Messi?
Isn't he a bit old to play Messi?
Also a bit tall. But and also muscular. But I want to know how that could be possible.
Well, obviously the only way you could do it is you'd have to do it like it would obviously be a Messi biopic.
Yeah.
But it would go well into the future, so you'd have Henry Cavill would have to play a futuristic Messi.
You're saying like he'd play an aging Lionel Messi?
Yeah, or he travels back in time to tell Messi to sign up and play football. I'm Messi. I'm you from the future, but I'm not English.
There's got
you
to
will
be.
be.
You will be. Yeah, you will be.
Oh. Or do you want him to narrate the Messi story?
I don't know. I kind of feel that of all my ideas, this one to me makes the most sense.
What? Henry Cavill as Messi?
As Lionel Messi, yes.
Because you just both see them as heroes?
Honestly, that could be a possibility.
Or would you rather see Messi dressed as Superman?
Ooh,
Playing football. That's his new uniform.
yes. Although at the moment, he's playing in America, and he's destroying a bunch of like Americans and teaching them all the joys of like. I mean, but having said that, like that would be like that's like fighting a kindergartner. Like it's like going
Yeah.
that's a little bit
It's
unfair.
like that you see that video I posted ages and ages ago where it was like I think it was three or four professional soccer players versus like 25, 30 kids or
Yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah, and they destroy them.
Yeah, it's like height advantage,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like Lionel Messi playing with these kids in the backyard, and you can hear his wife screaming at Lionel Messi to let the children win, and he doesn't. He's like
How
destroying
do
them.
they learn? How do they learn?
Exactly, that's how they learn. Anyway, anyway, back on
Yeah.
back onto topic. What are we talking about?
We were talking about, we're going to talk about, this is probably the perfect segue. Something that Neil suggested. Shows that
Oh
ran
Zod.
too shows that ran too short or too long. No in
Oh,
between, no perfection,
too long, too short.
too long or too short. I have two right off the top of my head that
Now,
I
are we
did.
are we critiquing the endings of the like? Is it bad ending or just simply that it went a bit
No,
too long, bit too short?
it's Firefly versus NCIS. Like kind of
Sure, no, I get that. I get that now. Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
one season probably still going.
All right. I want to hear Neil's. Not I want to hear Jamie's. I want to hear Neil's.
Give us the
Oh dear.
rundown, Neil. Give us the rundown.
Well, I'm not. When I suggested the topic and you said, "Oh yeah, well, we'll go for that," I promised myself I was not going to go the Firefly route. Partly because it still hurts, and everyone knows this is the quintessential show cut down before it had a chance.
Yeah,
Um,
and bad editing where they put the wrong episodes in order when they played in America.
oh yeah, I mean
Lots of
the
things.
reasons why these shows get cut short. Oh, it didn't do the numbers. Oh, you. I think in Firefly's case, they aired the episodes out of sequence and not on schedule, so they'd use it as filler in a schedule, but nobody knew. So I had a couple. Um, the first one was Jericho.
Oh yeah, I remember Jericho.
I remember Jericho.
I think I watched the pilot.
Jericho, the series where small town America and then seemingly all major American cities get nuked, and it's the small town doing what they have to do to survive. And this includes getting everyone to shelter before rainfall brings the fallout down and irradiates people, to shady private security contractors who claim to be working for what might constitute the government, but maybe not. Infighting in the town, and it ended on a cliffhanger. Season 1, and then they cancelled it. There was a big fan uproar. There was a big campaign where they started sending copious bags of nuts to the studio. This was in reference to this was in reference to some dialogue from the series about the American general in World War II who, when asked to surrender, the
He said
response was
this was nuts.
nuts.
Yep.
And the studio, I think it was Fox, could be wrong, but
Probably.
they gave in and they gave it a second season. They gave it 6 episodes, and the budget was about 20 pence and a toffee crisp. And most of season 2 was 2 characters in a room talking, because they didn't have the
Oh,
budget to do any
yep.
of the exterior shots. It was, I can't remember. I think it was in, I want to say it was Colorado. It was set, but I'm probably wrong. was a lot of farmland. Um, so they had a nice, idyllic small town with the main street with the diner and everything, and all the farmhouses, and they got very little of that. And because that was just not very well received, they went, "See, you didn't want it because hardly anyone watched it. Cancelled."
That's a
That
bit
was that
that's
was gone.
not that's not at all dishonest. Like that's the definition of dishonest. Like,
But
uh,
the finale was so rushed. All the plot lines they had building up basically got rushed in the last episode and a half. So I just one, it was cut short, but then the chance they gave it afterwards, it was so half-assed. They might as well have just left it on that cliffhanger. I have Constantine. There was a
oh,
series
Yes.
I
of
do. Yes,
Constantine,
yes, yes.
That was phenomenal.
That was so well done.
Like
and yet
he walked off the pages.
cancelled. Mm.
And then
I like the Keanu Reeves Constantine film was my introduction to the character,
wow.
and I really enjoyed that film. Then
Not so much.
I did a bit of I did a bit of reading, and I discovered he was introduced as in a Swamp Thing comic, and then he got
Wow.
his own series, Hellblazer, and then they did this. I can't remember what network it was. They did
It was
this,
CW.
It was well,
I
CW
think it
did
was
something good.
CW. No, look,
Uh,
CW started strong and then they just lost their way.
Yeah, but they had the more comic accurate depiction of the character with
Yeah.
the correct accent,
Yep.
and it was really fun. And then again, season one ended, just not renewed,
Yeah.
and it's a shame because they had lots of potential to bring in all this weird and wonderful, biblical, mythical,
Yeah.
stuff. Just cancelled.
Yeah. Made no sense.
That was an absolutely incredible show.
Yeah.
And like I love Justice League Dark, so I like the Dark Justice League.
Yeah.
And this was just all like yeah, you're right to your point. He nailed that. Like he was so good as that character. Every cartoon that they made, like
Yeah.
he voiced him in the Justice League movies and all the Justice League movies that they made to all the way up to Apocalypse where he the voice and then they did that after like he was John Con like you look at him and go that's John Constantine like I don't know I don't care what you like
Yeah.
there's
Like,
no one more
yeah.
that embodies John Constantine than this man.
He's the DC J. Jonah Jameson, you know?
I want to mention two shows.
Hmm.
And then I'm gonna steer clear the ones Jamie's gonna mention because I want to be unique and I want to be the special little boy.
You want to be contrarian, do you?
No, Jamie, I can't be. So there are two shows that to me are special, and one that's topical because of AI. Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Ooh.
Now that show was cut down in its prime, and okay, so anyway, okay, so anyway, so
I had this one on my list as
yep,
well.
yep. So there is like Summer Glau played this Terminator. Then obviously her chip got damaged, so she was programmed to go back to save John Connor. Her chip got damaged. It like she then starts hunting him, and then like there was an emotional scene where like he's trapped her and he's gonna rip the chip out of her head and she starts pleading at him, screaming at him, like telling him she loves him, and then like throughout the whole entire thing you go like, does he actually love him or she just was that her programming just to try to fight like to stop him from doing what the thing he's doing? It then turns out that like she put the chips back in, he's fine. They have this sort of weird relationship. Well, that's not really like I mean, you gave a teenager a hot like Summer Glau protector. John Connor knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, there was also these interesting things with people coming back from the future trying to kill her, to stop her, because they're saying like they was like in the future she is basically his number, like he's number two. And like there was this one scene where she's talking to this rebel soldier, and she goes like, and the rebel soldier goes, "I want to speak to John Connor," and some of the rebel was like, "You are speaking to me. You that is the same as speaking to John Connor right now." And like they're saying like people say it's bad enough now that in the future, imagine what he'll be like if he grows up with this robot. Like what kind of person? Like I said, they try to stop her, and then they figured out the one way to stop Judgment Day was actually to skip it. So they actually, at the end of the season, which annoyed me so much, which it hurt because I could see what they were trying to do. They jump him forward into the future, bypassing all like he's not the savior anymore. He's just John Connor, and then you meet the actual girl that who hadn't died yet because the whole story where like a Terminator was interrogating her just so she could learn about who she was so she could become the robot version of her. And like a dog comes up to her and she goes down and pats him, and then you realize so that's the actual that John Connor gets to actually meet the who the robot was based on, and then they cut the season, and I was like, it was heartbreaking, it was annoying, it like that show was fantastic, and honestly, of all the times they've tried to redo Terminator and try to get that Terminator feeling and vibe, the show nailed it to perfection better than I've ever seen any show try to do Terminator. Even one of the opening scenes where the teacher's sitting there reading out the roll, okay, and he's going like saying the names, and you see him taking out a knife, and he starts digging it into his leg and like ripping open his leg as he's reading the names. Like then he goes, John Connor, John Connor, and then he goes here, and he goes, excellent, and he whips out this handgun and his leg is on fire. I was like going like it captured Terminator so perfectly. Ah, it hurts me to this day that that show did not get more love than it deserved. Um, because it hurts. I still like. Also, that show gave us like Summer Glau, so like,
Yeah.
yay. Anyway,
Actually, Firefly gave us some of that.
yeah, but this is when nerds really went like, oh my God, who's that? Like, look at her. Like, what the fuck?
When
Anyway,
when she didn't look like she was 15.
exactly. She was older now, so it was fine. Um, Another show which I do, and this one I will point my anger solely at the British government with this one.
Mm.
Rome. They cancelled Rome after 2 seasons because it was what? Too authentic, too traditional. Like, look, I do understand that it was exorbitantly expensive because they had to actually rebuild like Rome and they had to do it like people think that Rome is actually this white marbled city, very easy for CGI. No, actually, and actually, no, Rome actually was very colorful, so they had to like build all these amazing sets and paint them all with like the Roman colors and everything. And I get it, I get it. The show was like e exorbitantly expensive, but it was also like in the wrong time. If it was today, there would be more seasons of Rome. But then when we got 2 seasons of Rome, and if you wanted to say to someone like, if you wanted to like, if you ever wanted to say to someone like what was life really like as a Roman back in like the day? And you go watch this show, and it's pretty like it's historically as close as we'll ever get to a true historical Roman show because it was like for one, the soldiers were in the right costumes for the late Republic era, like the Republic era soldiers. And also they fought in the Roman way. They didn't just rush like it wasn't a charge into battle, swing the swords around like a crazy person. No, they stood in line in a formation. And the first scene you could see why Rome like it showed you the Rome's true strength. Where the frontline soldiers were fighting, then all of a sudden they were told to the whistle was blown, they pulled back, they shifted down the line, and the next soldier set up. The whole purpose of like that the the cohort was you would probably fight for 15 minutes every like in a singular battle, whilst the other side would fight themselves to their death until they get tired and they would die. You would rotate because because Romans had brains, and that's how they conquered. That's how they conquered the known world. And it was the first time you could really see the strength of what a Roman formation was really like. And it was anyway, and also it gave us Titus Pullo and Lucius Verrinas, two absolute legendary heroes. Um, and also an incredible casting, incredible portrayal of Julius Caesar, like one of the best Julius Caesars we've ever had. And also, like that show had every single famous British actor at the time, and they did it perfectly. And I will never forgive them for cutting it so early. But 2 seasons is that all we got? Look, and yes, the show had budgetary issues because certain battles they sort of just had to explain after the battle because giant
Mm,
ass battles was expensive
yeah.
for a TV show. This is before Game of Thrones, so this is like when they're still trying to keep shows into a sort of modicum of budget.
Yeah.
Having said that, yeah, the fact that they have not tried to do like more of this, like more Rome, is like shocking because this is I will still watch Rome today,
Yeah.
and it holds up perfectly. So those are
You don't think they'll bring it back at some point?
no, no, no,
How
because
to do it?
Hollywood, it's like going, oh, the Roman Empire, that's white supremacy. You know why they're not going to bring it back. It's like going, oh, can we cast? Is there enough diverse enough cast? You're right. The cast diversity of the Italians would generally, we won't go into the details of why they're stupid. Anyway,
Yeah.
but there you go. One of my favorite shows. Those two shows are the ones that I think long and hard about in terms of cut too short.
Cut too short, yeah. Well, Chris is gonna guess this one. But for me, it's Gallivant. All I wanted was one more season. Just
Oh,
one more season.
I
Because I
don't know.
understand.
It kind of felt like the two arcs did wrap it up.
Yeah, but they kind of wrote it that way because I mean the first song of season two was like it's a new season. And then at the end of season two, they're going like, "This is it." Because I had Weird Al singing, and he's like, "Unless we get one more surprise renewal." You know,
Yeah, yeah,
it was the cheapest show to make on that network,
yep.
and yet cancelled. You know, have you heard of Gallivant, Neil?
I have not.
It's Disney
Sounds
for
musical from the
adults.
fact you were talking songs.
Yeah, well, it's a medieval musical comedy written. All the songs, at least for the first season, were written by Alan Menken, who did Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, basically all the classic Disney music from when we were kids, and it was um, obviously put together when around the Tangle era because it was originally written for Zachary Levi to be the lead role, and then I think he was in Thor. Had to go off and do Thor, so he couldn't do it. Someone else took over who did a fantastic job. But yeah, so it's basically a medieval musical comedy, Disney for adults. Piss fun. Chris showed it to me, and we watched 5 episodes in a row, and and wanted more. Um, it's very fun, very very funny. It's got lots of cameos. Ricky Gervais was in an episode, as I mentioned. Weird Al Yankovic was in one. Um, Uncle Jesse from Full House. Kylie Minogue was in season two. Like it's just completely random, and I just wanted one more season. I wanted one more season. And what's his name? Who's that English guy that's in everything? Vinnie Jones. If you guys want to see Vinnie Jones singing, that's the show for you.
Well, good show. Yeah, but look,
Yeah,
I'm happy that I'm happy
yeah,
that it
yeah.
ended
Like
where it did.
I did not want it to go too long,
Yeah, yeah.
but I just wanted one more season. I think they could have had one more season just to round it off, because it's
Mhm.
very hard to find shows that finish perfect. I know that's not really the topic, but it's hard to find a show that knows when to finish.
Yep, yep.
Because my other one I really loved. I wanted one more season of because I have like a kind of like a 5 seasons is good for any show. I think.
I wonder why. I wonder why it's 5 seasons,
Yeah,
Jamie.
we'll get to that in a second. Sleepy Hollow. I loved Sleepy Hollow.
Uh, I felt that one went too long.
Really? I reckon one more season would have rounded it off.
Because they changed the lead actress. That annoyed me.
Yeah,
I didn't like that.
yeah. Well, they do that a lot. Like in Sliders when the professor went off to make Lord of the Rings. You know, so it's like, sorry guys, I'm leaving. Kind of got a bigger gig.
Sometimes they have to do that, but like oh, what's the name of the show now? You mentioned when you mentioned Rome, this one, Spartacus,
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
where again, not the topic at hand, but they had the original guy they had playing
Yeah,
Spartacus.
he died, didn't he?
Sadly, he got sick,
Yeah.
And rather than do season 2 without him, they held off and they made a prequel, a Gods of the Arena.
But
They did the prequel.
but the prequel gave us one of my favorite characters from that show, Gannicus,
Gannicus.
who is like and like to the point where like when they brought in a new actor and they had Gannicus, everyone knew who the fan favorite was, which is because everyone loved Gannicus. Because it's really funny because like the show like was like Spartacus like, oh, I don't want to be a slave. He's all angry and bitter. Gannicus is like, yeah, I'm a slave. Yeah, that's our life. That's our lot. I'm gonna enjoy my life as best I can. And then he sang the greatest song about his cock raging on as he stands across a
Yes.
cliff,
Pissing off a cliff.
flipping off a cliff.
Yes. That they and Andy Whitfield, his name.
Hmm.
He after they did Gods of the Arena and he said, "Okay, what's the word? How are you doing?" He said, "No, I am not getting better.
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
not long for this world." But they said, "Well, we're really sorry. That's it. We'll end the show." And he gave them his blessing to recast the role.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the guy that they gave the role to, he did a great job.
Oh, he did a great job.
And if
What's his name again? Do you know the name of the guy? What's his name?
Ian something, but he did a good
He
job.
did a good job.
And if he'd have been the first actor, Liam McIntyre, if he'd have
Another
been
Australian. Yeah.
if he'd have been the first man playing the part, I think it'd been fine. But he does a good he does a good job. It's just they were very difficult shoes to fill because the performance in the first season was
Oh, it was
brilliant.
like his like that actor Andy Whitfield. He's like has a softly spoken whisper
Yeah.
that is just like resonates with you in terms of like.
Yeah.
So he played the role perfectly with the tragedy, and then it also was very clear that the new actor Liam McIntyre was not ambidextrous, and so he changed his fighting style from two swords to sword and shield. It was very,
Mm.
very clear why they did that because obviously the actor was struggling with the choreography um of like the fighting with the two swords, which is like very cool looking, and so they switched it up because obviously actor can't do that, which is fine. But that kind of was his whole shtick in terms of how he that was the whole character's style, whatever. But
Yeah,
having said that, Gannicus did it. So that's fine. Gannicus
yeah.
carried it on.
That we've got the box set of that. Actually dug it out of a box the other week,
Mm.
and I've been very tempted to watch it. Just kids have a very bad habit of coming downstairs after they've been sent to bed, and
I think that show is
a lot
kid
of that
friendly.
series, a lot. If you want to teach kids about certain things that they probably don't teach in school, I don't particularly want to have to keep pausing it, and then even pausing it isn't going to be great. If you freeze frame on what Gannicus was up to before he went to go and piss off of that cliff,
Yes.
no, I don't want to explain that one. But that actually, there is news recently. They are doing a spin-off, or the House of Asher spin-off. They are actively casting it at the moment.
What? Interesting.
I think it's some alternate timeline where that particular character doesn't
Asher.
meet an untimely demise, or a
Uh,
timely demise rather, because he was one of
he
those
was
characters
he was
that
a
he
dick.
hated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm worried that I think the time for that show has been and gone, and
Yeah.
I don't want it to be one of those. We're going to take this show, and we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. We're going to run this series on and see how much more we can milk from it. I hope it's good. I will give it a chance.
But like it ended so well. Like, because the Spartacus story is a tragedy because they're slaves going up against the might of the Roman Empire, and eventually, when got sick of it, they sent someone who knew their hand from their ass, Crassus, and crushed them. Like that was the entire like premise of the show is like going these slaves did very well against some regional forces and some regional leaders, Then Rome said, "Fine, we're sending our legions," and then the legions the legions like butchered them significantly. So I understand, like, and I think the show ended perfect. Actually, like in terms of a great ending, there was an amazing scene. You remember this one, Neil, where Crassus is fighting Spartacus, and Crassus is obviously like before he went on war, he was learning to fight like a gladiator. And they said, "Oh, don't you want to learn how to fight like a true Roman?" He goes, "No, no, no, I'm fighting my enemy. I want to learn how to fight like they do." And he does this awesome. He does this like awesome move where he captures the Spartacus' weapon, spins it around, like slams it into him. And as Spartacus is dying, he looks at him and he goes, "Oh, had you been born a Roman." What could have you like? What you would have been like? He's basically saying you would have been like led like oh had you but been born a Roman. It was like going oh that's so poignant. It was an awesome scene. Neil, thank you for reminding me. I have to watch that show again now because like you bringing it up, I'm going oh my God, like yes.
Any series with the awesome Lucy Lawless is worth a second go.
Oh, of course, of course.
All right, my place. Xena, Warrior Princess.
Hey, hey, you shut your mouth about Hercules and the legendary journey adventures.
I love Hercules.
You shut
love Hercules.
your dirty mouth about the
All right.
birth of the New Zealand film industry.
Hey, well, I saw an interview with Kevin Sorbo,
Mhm.
and it was saying like Hercules was what started that, and
Yes.
then most of if not all the crew that worked on Hercules went straight to Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
You know, and then Kevin Sorbo always felt a little bit salty, like he's like, "Hey, Peter, got a role for me, Peter? I kind of just." Like,
But yeah, birthed your entire film industry.
yeah. Even just an orc. Imagine Kevin Sorbo was an orc, like
Oh, that'd be awesome.
in his Hercules days.
Yep. Yep.
It's
And
this
his buff.
mammoth tank of
What a great show that was.
Hercules. Yeah. All right. What do we switch? What about we switch on to things that went way too long? I mean, like, shall we just get Supernatural out of the way? All agree that went on way too long.
No, no, Neil, I want to hear your thoughts on this because I've heard myself. I've heard Jamie wax lyrically about Supernatural since the dawn of time. What
That
are your
was my
thoughts?
favorite show.
What are your thoughts, Neil, on the Supernatural?
I never finished it.
Look, see the original ending, season 5, or all of it.
Okay, so I was at a point in my life when that show was running where I had a schedule every day. I knew what shows had been on the night before, what to look up, and I was watching Supernatural all the time. And I ended up life got in the way, so it got to the point where I had a season to watch, and in the time it took me to get a season watched, 2 more seasons had been and gone.
Yeah.
So it built up to the point where basically it had finished, and I had I had at least 5 seasons to catch up on. And in the same way that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has wisely started to move away from multiverses, because when you can bring your characters back whenever you want them to come back,
You diminish
killing
the
them
death.
off has no meaning.
Has no
There's
meaning.
no impact. The first time, I dropped spoilers, but it's been running for a long time and finished for a long time. The first time when they killed Sam Winchester, oh my goodness. He's dead. He's actually dead. What are they going to do? Oh, he's going to trade his soul and bring him back. Okay. Oh no. So a year later, Dean dies. And then an angel just drags him straight out of hell.
Which was pretty epic.
Oh, that was good. Because that was the introduction of angels.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was
which
awesome.
was very cool. I am an angel of the Lord with the shadow wings behind. That was really
so
good.
Cool.
But then we beat the angel Michael, and we beat Lucifer.
Yep.
Then we ended up getting monsters from Purgatory. Beat them. Yep. Okay. And then there was Hell Knight, and the whole Cain and Abel thing gets brought in, and they beat that. I am led to believe the finale is they beat God. And okay, I mean, they had to end there because how much more could you do?
Yeah, where do you
I-
go from fight God?
I'm very conflicted because one of the big highlights of Supernatural is the soundtrack.
Yeah.
The soundtrack's phenomenal. I love it.
Carry on, my
And the
wayward
idea
son.
of
Mm.
every finale,
Yep.
But then it just the way you have these two guys in a classic car with the boot full of weapons, hunting monsters. I was so behind that. And they actually got it to the point where I was just thinking to myself, this is just it's going and going and going. And every time they kill someone off, they go into hell and bring them back, or some deity snaps their fingers and says, "Oh, I thought you need some help." Boop, there's dead character back. So it just got to the point where there was no emotional impact for anything that was happening. And
It's almost
that
like they should have finished on the season 5, like it was initially, like where it was a perfect, wonderful arc.
And it felt, and it was even shot like an ending.
Yes.
You know, like it felt like a wrap up.
Isn't that coincidental?
Yeah. And that's what I've always liked about Eric Kripke is he sat down. I have a story to tell. This is the arc. This is the build up. These are all the hints I'm going to drop at the right time. And then he goes, "All right, I'm done." And the studio goes, "Well," and then I think that was the point he walked away and started. What was that other show he started, Chris, at the time?
Revolution.
Revolution, yeah.
Which by the way, I also love that show.
Yeah.
But okay. Sorry. Let me diverge on a tangent a little bit on Revolution because
is this the one where the world gets EMP'd?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yes, I have seen a bit of that.
And so all of a sudden, everyone has to be a swordsman, and there's this guy who's like a legendary swordsman, and he's awesome, and it's fantastic how good of a swordsman he is.
Yeah.
One, it was a network television show, so I understand that if he cut you in the arm, you had to die. I get it. I understand that, like you can't like impale people on network television.
Yeah.
But what I hated was I love the concept where basically they're saying there were so many wars after the EMP that we ran out of ammunition. We used all the ammunition up so much that we went back to muskets and swords because that's all we had. And that's how we kept on fighting, was because, the idea was like humans are going to fight muskets and swords. It was awesome. But then all of a sudden, like, for some reason, like in the second season, just suddenly everyone had guns again. It was like everyone just once again had guns again. There was tons of ammunition. Tons of ammunition. I'm going, no, what made that show special was the sword fighting. Anyway, I digress. Back onto the point, Neil. So you're saying that you actually were a fan of season 6 of Supernatural? Is that what you're saying? Is that you're saying you were a fan of Heresy of the highest order?
I enjoyed a bunch of the stuff that came after. I liked some of the characters they brought in later on. I like the concepts. I do, however, acknowledge that although it had some good stuff, there was an end point, and in the grand scheme of things, they should have ended there. Similar to another one I have on my list.
Go for it.
Which is 24.
Oh,
yeah.
There's only so many times that Jack Bauer can be snatched up by the Chinese to be tortured for another year or so,
and his daughter be kidnapped.
Well, with 24, when it was current, was big among myself and my co-workers, and we always joked that, the phone rings, Kiefer Sutherland answers, "Jack, there's been a terror threat to LA. We need you to come in." And he'll say, "Okay, just give me a minute." And he takes Kim Bauer and locks her in a cupboard under the stairs with a bottle of water and a packet of biscuits and says, "Right, you're not getting kidnapped. You're not going to put yourself in a position where I am now conflicted about saving you or the city. Stay put." And some of the later seasons had some really cool characters. They had some really good set pieces, plot lines. But it should have ended at season 4 when the Chinese want Jack Bauer. They fake his death. Everyone says, "Thank you so much, but you have to go now." And the last we see of Jack Bauer, he puts his aviators on and he walks down a train track into the sunset, having to now live a solitary existence for the good of the country.
Yeah.
That would have been a perfect ending. And then they brought him back. And they kept going. And then one of his pals from, I think, the very beginning gets killed. Oh no, that's tragic. That's horrible. But he's back in a later season as a bad guy. Because reasons. Reasons. And it just became very formulaic. It was whatever location this season is set in, CTU will have a mole that will have some involvement with the bad guys. They may not be aware of who they're working for, but or they've been manipulated into it. But there's always a mole, and they had to keep upping the stakes. And I think as season 6 or so, they nuke LA.
Good.
Like there is a
I like it.
There's a nuke. Oh, we've got to find it. We've got to find it. They tried to do the whole defuse it. You know, which wire do I cut? Nope. Boop.
Wait, what do you mean? Which wire do they cut on a nuclear bomb? Like,
I don't fully recall. I'm now remembering Stargate SG-1 where they say which wire do I cut, and he says they're all yellow. But they're trying to defuse the nuke, and Jack Bauer ends up having to shoot one of his long-running associates in the throat to stop him from killing. I think it was Dr. Bashir from Deep Space Nine. And just as Jack Bauer is crying on the floor because he's had to kill his friend, mushroom cloud. Where do we go from here? And then they had to relocate to Washington for the next season because LA was a crater.
Yeah.
And I think there might be another one in the works. I know the last season they did. I don't even think they had Jack Bauer in it.
No, well, I thought they were doing like some spin-off thing or something.
Yep.
No, I just lost interest. You know, that was one of those shows I just got bored of and just jumped off. There's a lot of them. Walking Dead, for example. I like that. I know Chris hated it, but I liked it for five or six seasons, and then it kind of got redundant.
Are you ughing because of the way the show went, or are you ughing because you're comparing it to the graphic novel, Chris?
No,
bit of both.
He didn't like it from the beginning.
I know from the beginning. So, like, I watched the first season and went, "Wow, this is shit," and then that was it. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I know, and that was a weird one at the time. Like,
Yeah.
everyone was saying, like, the first season was like going, "Wow, this is the greatest thing of all
He
time."
was the contrarian.
I watched the first season. I was like going, "Wow, this is real shit." Like, I can't think of anything more shit than this. And I was like going, I get where you want to do certain things where you're going like blah blah blah, personal drama, blah blah blah. But it was just so boring. My God. Anyway, so I didn't watch any of the other seasons, and then Jamie was like going, "Oh, it's the greatest thing of all time." I'm going, "Okay."
Well, I thoroughly did enjoy it. Because of like basically the characters, like, you know, obviously season 1 was on a budget and they were still figuring things out, but like it grew and the characters grew on you and you grew attached to them, and then they went, okay, you like that character? He's dead now.
Oh, he's not just dead. He's going out in the most horrible way.
Yeah. And then it got to the point where they were doing brilliant writing where it was like ends with someone dying or possibly dying, you don't know, and then 2 or 3 episodes later you'll find out what happened to them. You?
The fake outs got a bit much for me.
Yeah.
The fake outs did. I didn't get this far in the show, but I saw YouTube one drunken night decided to show me a compilation of reaction channels reacting to a particular scene that was done in the graphic novels, and this was
Negan?
No, much later.
No?
This was the antagonists of that section of the story, to make a point, kidnap a number of the characters, behead them, impale their heads on stakes in a line on a hillside. So obviously, in The Walking Dead, you don't destroy the brain when you behead someone; the head is still alive,
Yeah.
unalive, undead,
Yeah.
whatever.
Active, moving.
Yeah, and similar to the likes of Game of Thrones, where you got the people that are just watching a show and the people who've gone ahead and read the books,
Yeah.
and the people who have read the graphic novels saw this coming and were, ooh,
Yeah.
hold on a second, they're showing us this character alive, but that character's supposed to be dead, and it was a great fake out because they did the umpteen characters who have been killed, but it was a totally different set of characters. So all the people trying to be smug because they read the graphic novels, they've read ahead,
Yeah.
were completely blindsided by who they killed off.
Wow. That's cool.
And but I struggled because zombies became the background.
Yeah.
They became an annoyance. And I mean, Negan, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who coincidentally also played Daddy Winchester in Supernatural.
Yeah. I love him. He's great.
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
And he was great as Negan.
Yeah.
But this is a show about zombies, and the zombies they'll be in the background. There'll be a couple of them just going, coming after them, and they'll look at them and be like, "Oh, we've got a few minutes. We'll just walk off." And they only became an issue when it was relevant to the story.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole premise behind the title is that they are the Walking Dead. It's not the zombies that are the Walking Dead, sort of thing. But yeah, like, it just got too long. It's like even when I pushed myself through it when they brought in like these new characters that dressed like the zombies, and like I thought that's a cool concept, but I'm already bored, you know. And I just jumped off and was like, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah, they're still making it though, aren't they? They did Fear the Walking Dead, where they had characters that had walked out of the story, the main Walking Dead story, turn up.
Yeah.
They did was it on Amazon where they had here's the kids having an adventure out in the land of the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And they actually started trying to tie it into references to the lab from the end of the first season of the core show, trying to hint at scientists trying to figure out the zombie virus. And then they were supposed to be doing like a Daryl Dixon show and
that's
Rick
come
and
up.
Michonne.
Yeah. And then there's a Negan and the whoever that
Maggie,
yeah. So people are
who was
still
also
watching
in
it.
Supernatural.
Yeah, she was great. What a cool character was she, eh?
Yeah.
But that's what these Canadian shows do. They just swap actors.
I've got a couple more that ran
Go for it.
along. That's
Go for it.
a little bit. I know that I'm going to upset a few people. This one, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, ran too long.
Yep,
I tend to
100%.
agree. Again,
100%.
the
100%.
five season arc.
Angel, where ran too short.
Oh, yes. They were setting up something spectacular, and then they just left us hanging there.
I'm a big fan of Buffy and Angel, and that said, I would have been quite happy for Buffy to end at season 3.
Really?
I thought the shift. I have this thing where you have the premise for a show, and when you start changing the setting radically, I start to lose interest. So when they went from the library and the school to college, they didn't really have a central hub.
Yeah.
That they were all located. They just met in random classrooms or lecture halls or a dorm room. The same as True Blood ran too long. And again, True Blood started out in a small town in the deep south in America, where vampires have just made their existence known to the world. And I really enjoyed it. And then we started getting, well, we're going to now travel to big cities, and there's all this vampire councils that actually run lots of things behind the scene, which is a bit of a trope anyway. But they expanded it, and then it went to this great big world altering grand scheme, and I just kind of enjoyed it when it was in a small town and everything revolved around the local diner and bar. And then Buffy. I know there was the 5 season arc, and I know how it was supposed to end. I didn't enjoy season 5. I thought the villain was
Eve? You didn't like Eve?
no, no, Glory.
Glory, sorry, Glory. That's right, Glory.
Yeah. I didn't at all.
But I liked how
Um,
that ending to me was perfect. In like if they had done if they had not like so she sacrifices herself to save a sister that wasn't her sister but was her sister because of the memories they planted into to protect the key. But she made the ultimate sacrifice, won the battle. I thought that was beautifully sad. It was an awesome ending. And then they went, "We want more. Let's bring her back from the dead." And it's like going,
Yeah.
"No, you no." Like,
It's usually, money. I hate that money is the, you know.
although the one cool thing with the bringing back from the dead thing, I did kind of like because it was really interesting, was that her friends brought her back from the dead because they thought she was suffering in hell, and then she didn't have the heart to tell them that she wasn't in hell. She was in heaven,
Wow.
and so they had ripped her out of heaven to bring her back to the world, and like, yeah, she didn't have the heart to tell them
Yeah.
like that, you know, that was her goal was to save the world by that
Yeah.
sacrifice. That was her entire purpose.
Yeah.
And then like they brought her back, and I was like going, yeah, awkward
Yeah.
conversation that to start with. Hey, you kind of fucked me there, didn't you?
will say though that because they carried it on, I've bemoaned the trope of the musical episode,
Oh,
the
they
obligatory
started it.
musical episode.
They
Their
fucking
musical
started it.
episode was a banger.
Oh no, that was that
There's
was
some great songs in there.
oh that to this day is still the greatest musical episode. I know. Jamie will say no, Scrubs is better on the musical episode, but sorry, like that
No, well, I'd
started.
say it didn't start it. We had this conversation. Xena Warrior Princess started it.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
But what I'm saying is like I like the songs from the Buffy one are bangers.
look,
They're awesome.
look, they're not horrible songs. I'm just saying I can't think of one right now. I watched it multiple times, but I can't think of a song right now. I can't sing a song when I can think of Scrubs and go, "It's got love between two," like just
But that's
straight away.
because Scrubs is your thing. Like
Well, that fair point. But you've also they're different because Scrubs was written by Broadway writers
hmm
who work on musicals. When I view Buffy as more of a rock opera, like they're just rock songs, you know.
Okay,
I'm not saying it's horrible. I'm just saying it's different.
that's fair.
Scrubs is another one I have on my list as
No, well, look,
it
I
went
agree
too
that it went too
long.
long. I 100% agree that it
Or
went too long.
rather, it wasn't necessarily that this is something that they did with Scrubs, which was weird, was they wanted to do a spin-off, didn't they?
Yes, and the
And
studio,
the studio said no one's going to watch a spin-off, and instead they called it season 8.
not 9. Sorry.
Oh, 9,
Yeah,
sorry.
season 9,
And
Scrubs
it went
Med School.
longer than I thought it did.
Yeah,
Um, and then inevitable happened, and no, people didn't like it because you got rid of most of the characters.
yeah. I 100% believe that it would have worked as a spin-off. But instead they did season 9. They had JD in it for like 5 episodes, and they wanted to wean you off JD when it should have just been a hard,
A hard pull would have been better.
hard pull.
And I did like the whole med school thing was dumb. They should have just they should have just brought in like a new intern, a new
Yeah.
into the hospital,
Yeah.
and then just start again. But with then at the point, all of then like the Kelso is then like Cox, and then there's all the senior
Yeah.
staff are still there. But it's just a hard cut at that point, just
Yeah.
to say new
Well,
characters, new concept.
but here's the other thing. Season 8 had all these new interns that are building them up as new characters.
Yes.
Why not use them?
Oh
You
no,
know?
true. They had some great characters.
They had some great characters.
They had some great interns there.
Yeah. But no, like, yeah, me and Chris will always agree on this. The season 8 finale was just phenomenal.
Like how season 8 ended was just boom. And Bill Lawrence
Yep.
did say that he had that ending planned from the very beginning. He knew exactly how it was going to end, and he always had it ready, not knowing when they were going to get cancelled, just to go boom.
Imagine knowing how your show is going to end when you start it. Lost.
Hey, well, that's the thing about Lost because Lost was only supposed to be 15 episodes.
I think it's more J.J. Abrams is a terrible writer. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just
Oh.
saying.
And Damon
say it.
Lindelof as well. Terrible.
I think I'm going to say J.J. Abrams knows how to start things. That's it. He doesn't know where to go from where he starts.
I think you're. Okay. You look.
Star
Neil.
Wars Episode 7 has entered the chat.
No.
Hey, I mean when we watched that, I did not hate that movie.
I know.
Again, it was a good start. Good new,
I
like, great
remember
characters.
a series. I was shortlisting this one for the cut too short, but decided against it. It was called, I think it was Defying Gravity. It was a bit like Lost, but in space, but not Lost in Space, which is a different thing.
Different thing.
It was a space expedition, and they were going to go around the solar system. There was some stuff where they had this weird artifact that was doing strange things, and they were on a also there was a secret mission to track down more of these artifacts. It did one season, it got cancelled. It happens. At the time, a lot of shows were doing one season and getting cancelled. I looked up an interview with the writers to see if they'd ever said where that show was going to go. And there was, and they detailed a few things, but in this they mentioned being at a dinner with some of the writers from Lost. And so, according to this interview, they had said, we're only a few episodes from the end of the whole show, and we have no idea how we're ending it.
Oh.
And you can go onto YouTube after watching this, or do it in a new tab, where you can type in all of the unfinished plot lines in Lost. Those videos are very long, and they will cover all sorts of things that they just sent out there and left. And there are still people to this day that will defend that show to their hilt and say, "Oh, they're red herrings." Yeah, but red herrings from what? A red herring is supposed to specifically distract the characters from figuring something out, not just here's
Random
a shark.
thing.
It's got the company logo on its tail. What was that supposed? Oh, it was a red herring. No one ever noticed it. It didn't distract from anything. It was just something they did and never explained.
But that's another show that I would mention that went too long. By too long, I mean most of the seasons. Heroes.
Yeah.
That show had such promise when it started.
Oh, that's
that was
what I mean.
Such a thing.
The
Season
promise
one.
was that
Yeah.
season one, mwah, like beautiful. Then what?
I like season 2 because Hero got to go back to,
feudal Japan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I loved his arc. I love that whole character. But yeah, like 100% agree. I don't know. I can't remember too much. If I think it should have ended at season 2 or season 3, but I know they shouldn't have done season 4.
But the problem is with that show, the bad future they're all trying to stop seemed much more fun to watch than the show that they're going like, fuck it, let's get there. Like, just show me a show of the bad future. Like, fuck this whole like, oh, we gotta save the world because of that. That's bad. Why the bad as in because the whiny main character becomes a man and is awesome and like kills people and does awesome things, or like come on, like what the fuck are we doing?
But, I mean, and what about that train scene, Chris, where Hero comes back from the future?
Yep.
Oh,
Look again. Like I said, season one, phenomenal. Then they just dropped. Then like they went, how do we drop the ball? There probably was a giant writer's room where they were saying, how do we shoot? How do we fail? And they had to work very hard to meticulously plan out failing, because that's the only explanation of how they failed.
I have another one that's you have a great premise for a show. It's really entertaining, it runs its course, and then they just keep going. Prison Break.
Yeah.
So at the end of the
2
first
seasons.
season, they get out of prison.
Yeah.
Season 2, they're on the run,
Yeah.
and
That's
there's
where it should
still
have
a
ended.
plan in place.
Yeah.
Great. The premise of this man has gone to prison on purpose. He's plotted out the escape perfectly, down to how do I get out of my cell? I'll take the toilets off the wall. I'm going to look up the manufacturer of the toilets that they use in the cells. I'm going to see what size hex bolt they use. I'm going to have a tattoo of a hexagon on my arm that is going to be the exact size I need to grind a screw down in order to make an Allen key
Yeah.
to take this hex bolt out. Everything planned meticulously, with the odd thing that goes wrong and he has to improvise because he's a genius. Fantastic. End of season 2. Well, they're in another prison now. They're in another prison.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have his body tattooed with all the schematics and reference
Yeah.
diagrams and plans that he needs in order to escape. It's just they're in a prison. They've got to get out. And then I think it got so expensive for them to keep doing Wentworth Miller's tattoo
Tattoos that
makeup.
he got him taken
They
off.
had him wearing long sleeve shirts for most of it.
Yeah.
And then I think the final season they went, oh yeah, tattoo removal, and you'll be absolutely fine 5 minutes later. I believe the process is quite painful and leaves you feeling a
Yeah.
bit raw, but he was fine.
And then like,
Yeah.
your skin is red for ages until it eventually goes back to like. Yeah. But
Yeah. Yeah.
details
Yeah.
aside.
Yeah. No, it should have been 2 seasons. That was it. You should have had one for the breakout, one for wrapping up the overall conspiracy. The end. You know. But
Another show that went on too long that I felt went on too long. Bones. I'm not sure if you ever watched the TV series Bones.
would not get into it. Hey, could not.
I've
Quite
seen a few episodes.
decent show. The return to form of I watch it because obviously that was sort of David Boreanaz's sort of like show after Angel, and people was actually pointed out very funnily that he had to get himself back into shape, because at the end of Angel he was a little bit podgy looking. And then, like you see the first episode as his FBI agent Silly Brief is ripped back to his back to his like forms, going like, you had to go to shoot pilots for TV series, so you made sure you got yourself back into like
Yeah.
tip-top shape. Decent ending of the show, but I just felt like they had some really like shocking moments in that show that actually were actually quite well done. Where like one of the interns, the Squints, was actually like a plant from the serial killer, and then it was helping them all along. It was an amazing like thing, and then it went too long, and it kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going.
Mhm.
Then I was like going like, oh my God, just end like and look, I watched it to the end. It was good. Another show that did the same thing was Castle, because the actors hated each other,
Yeah.
and it was very obvious that they
Yeah.
that they decided that they despised each other, and
Yeah.
that caused and that's why that show got weird. Anyway,
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's why they had a whole season where the 2 characters weren't Nathan
in the
Fillion.
same
Yeah.
in the same
Yeah.
scenes together. They were
I
literally
I
not
go
in the
further,
same
I
scene.
go further to say in the same city.
Yeah, no, I guarantee they shot those scenes like I was far
Yeah.
away from the
Yeah,
actors.
no,
Like,
no, but
physically.
they from memory the 2 characters they separated or they were not,
Yeah, yeah.
like whatever. And again, look, that ending it felt rushed. It felt like, oh, we're ending now. There you go. There's the ending.
Yeah, because it went on too long.
It did
Neil,
go on too long.
Neil, any more of shows that you want to like pine the length of?
I did type into Google earlier this evening TV shows that ran too long. Google
Mhm.
gave me a list. Some I agree with, some I don't. Number 1 on that list, I'm going to have a little dig, little personal moment here. Grey's Anatomy. Good Lord, I am sick to death of that show.
Why?
Because Rebecca is watching it again. She started from scratch. And I'm not a big fan of the kind of medical procedural stuff with all of the interpersonal drama.
Mm-hmm.
I also I get very uncomfortable Since becoming a father, anytime it never used to bug me too much when a kid was in peril or distress in a show or a movie. Since becoming a father, it's actually really gotten to me. So when I come home and on the television there is a newborn baby opened up and they're trying to do something to fix a baby's heart, I see it and I go, I know this isn't malicious. I know they're not being unpleasant with this, and this is something that really happens, but I don't really want to see it.
Yep, that's a
So
fair point.
I have a personal issue with it, but she's on. She said though, there's a new season, so I want to get up to date. She left it on pause the other day when she went to go and go to the kitchen, and then when you leave something on pause on the streaming services, after a minute, the title comes up and it tells you the season and the episode, and I went, season 20.
What?
Seriously, there should be a point where you go,
Yeah, limit.
we're done. I mean, at least the likes of CSI and all that, at least they had the decency to say, we'll keep going, but we'll mix it up and we'll have a different setting. This is a different city. You know, there's palm trees in this one, or this isn't a big city. No, just still going.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I for one can safely say I've never seen a single episode of Grey's Anatomy in my entire life. That's my humble brag for the day.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I've seen clips, but
And I do have one more,
one more,
and this is a show that everyone will say ran too long.
Mm-hmm.
That I will say was cut short.
Ooh, controversy.
Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones. Now, I read the books. Once I got into the show, I went ahead and read all the books.
Yep.
So I am one of those people that sat there watching everyone else's faces when, we're having a wedding. And I'm like,
the red wedding. Yep.
Aha. Okay.
That's where I jumped off.
I would say personally, everyone's got a different point for where they feel the show dropped off. Some people, everyone says season 8 was abysmal. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Some people say, it was starting to lag in season 7. I say as soon as they ran out from the books, as soon as they stopped adapting content from the books and went their own way after season 4 or so, I think it started to show signs that they're not really thinking this through. But season 8 was a disaster because everything was rushed. It's not that characters did things that they wouldn't have eventually gotten to.
Mm-hmm.
It's that characters went from being, I want to be a benevolent ruler who frees slaves and I want people to see me as a force for good, to, burn the city, burn everyone. And I know there's a synergy there with the ancestors of characters doing the same thing. But it was sudden. And it's my understanding from the time that the writers, Game of Thrones was the show. It was the thing everyone talked about. And I believe HBO said, as long as you want to keep making this 10, 13 seasons, just say the word, we'll write the check. But Benioff and Weiss, I believe what happened was they had an offer from Lucasfilm.
Yep.
And they wanted that. And they decided, no, we're doing 8 seasons, and rushed everything, which is why characters were on one side of the world and then all
teleported. They magically teleported the 1,000 leagues to the other side of it.
They were going everywhere. I mean, they took umpteen seasons to get a character across one country, and yet later on they're there, they're all over the place. And they rushed characters from, say, like, I want to be the benevolent freer of slaves to burn everyone alive very, very quickly, because they should have taken several seasons to put that character through enough decisions to bring them to that conclusion. And
Yeah,
then
but
because they fumbled Game of Thrones so badly, it's my understanding again that Kathleen Kennedy said, "Nah, we don't want writing of that caliber." Ironic considering how
Yeah.
Star Wars would then
Yeah.
continue to go. But so while everyone says Game of Thrones went too long, I agree because of how it ended. But the reason it ended the way it did was because they wanted to cut
They
it
rushed
short.
it. Yep.
They rushed it wholeheartedly. And I mean, we're never going to find. I don't think we're ever going to get the last two books from George R. R. Martin.
He will die before those books. Because even if that was his planned ending, no one liked it, so he now has to think like shit,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
That's why you should always have your ending planned.
And also don't take up 17 chapters per book talking about food. I know you're a big fat man and you get hungry when you write. Now,
Write a cookbook.
George R. R. Martin, when you're hungry, stop writing. Go eat something, come back. Just for the love of all things holy.
But then wouldn't he come back full and satisfied and then start describing what he had that was full and satisfying? Should it be the swimming pool rule?
Yeah, 30 minutes.
You got to wait at least 20 minutes before you jump back in.
Yeah, it is.
You're giving me a whole new context for the scene where he graphically describes Daenerys having chronic diarrhea. And you're now giving me a whole new context for why he wrote it that way.
Again,
he had a bad sandwich.
You had a bad sandwich. I mean, the amount of again, he wrote so much detail about food. People made a cookbook from cooking with Westeros because of how accurate the detailed descriptions of the food was. If that is not a man who's hungry all the time, I don't know what is.
One of life's great mysteries.
And I'm curious about the prequel, the spin-off, House of the Dragon, because all the people I follow online have everyone was very cynical because of how Game of Thrones ended and some of the rumors about the pilots that were rejected. And then it came out, and a lot of the people I follow did reviews of it and said, "Oh, so far I was wrong on this. This is really good."
First season is excellent. Agreed. I think the first season is good.
I haven't watched any of it.
There was the first season. There was memes coming out. Was basically saying oh, there's a character Daemon Targaryen, and there was this memes coming out saying, what war crimes will Daemon commit this week, and how how I will convince myself that they are completely acceptable, because he was such a he was a great character. His introduction to the show was he builds the gold cloaks in the city. He was a troublesome prince, and they wanted him to do something. The first thing his gold cloaks do is they go into the city, they round up every criminal, and kill them in front of everyone in the city to say this person's a thief, and they cut their hands off, and they go, this person's a rape, and then that's how he immediately establishes establishes the role of the gold cloaks, is basically saying, you step out of line in the city, we are not fucking around with we are not fucking around. It was awesome. And then he wanted to get remarried. He didn't like his wife, so her horse fell over, and then she died. No one explains how she died, but we all know exactly what happened and how that happened. Matt Smith, there was an entire episode where he didn't talk. The entire episode. But his acting was so phenomenal. People actually were upset. They're going, why didn't he win an award for that? That was peak acting without saying a single word. Then season 2 came and it was sick, and it's shit. It's not that it's shit. It's just that this story that George R. R. Martin wrote is a shit story because it only works because of betrayal. This whole war that's not to spoil too much, but there's a war. One side has all the support of the houses and about 19 or so dragons. The other side has 3 dragons and they declare civil war on the other side, what do you think the likelihood of surviving that civil war would be? In like, if this was not a George R. R. Martin book, would you think that would be a reasonable war to try to fight?
That would be a particularly asymmetric conflict.
But it's not because George R. R. Martin and betrayals. Ooh. But again, that war only happens and only can be a war because of twist and turn of betrayals. I'm going like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in the history of the universe. Anyway,
But Chris, what they're doing is they're using the ninja method. If there's less ninjas, there's more power to distribute.
but have you look
You
all
see,
like
I've said I will watch it once it's finished.
oh no,
And
wait until it's finished. Wait until it's finished.
If people say, "Wow, what a satisfying conclusion," because I've puzzled. I don't know what you think, what you two think about this, but if someone were to say to me, "I've heard about Game of Thrones, I want to watch it. Can you recommend it?" Knowing how it ends,
I'd say no.
I can't recommend it. But then
Nope.
the first 4 seasons are some of the best TV I've ever watched.
Oh, the Battle of Blackwater is like some peak television. Like like that was the first time they like that was like how am I going to say this? You would normally see battles like that in a movie because they could never do that on a TV budget. That was like
Mm.
but they did it. And then they did the battle of Winterfell and forgot all about how war works, how lighting works. That I know that, and I get it. You don't actually no, I don't get it because again, Helm's Deep was also shot in the dark, but they at least brought lights to make sure that you could see the fucking battle. Like it's like
It's my understanding that with the Battle of Winterfell, I remember watching it and it was so dark, and you can see. I'm gonna geek out. You can see the MPEG encoding in the variations of the light in the darkness, and I think that when they did the version that they aired on television, it was just an incredibly bad copy. They
mm,
encoded it for television so badly, and I'm fairly certain I read that if you actually want to watch that properly, if you get the Blu-ray, you can actually watch it and enjoy it. But I'm not spending money on the Blu-ray for a
of course
show
not.
that ended the way it did, just so I can
Yeah.
see the one thing in that season that could have been okay, ignoring Deus Ex Arya Stark.
Yeah. And sorry, I have to launch into a tirade on the battle because I as a military historian fan, that's not how castle sieges. Anyway, the whole concept of the Castle of Winterfell, which they explained in the first episodes, was how the castle was designed is that 100 men within inside the castle wall could withstand a siege of thousands because of, because of how they've designed the castle. And they've gone, we are going up against an unkillable undead army that don't have fear and they don't do anything. Let's all put our army outside the castle walls. This makes all the sense to me. It's like going, why would you do that? And it's like going, let's also use our light cavalry with archery and charge them headlong into the undead. Given how that's not how cavalry has ever worked in the history of warfare, but specifically light cavalry, which is what the Dothraki are. The Dothraki are not a heavy horse charge. They don't have long lances. They don't have the equipment for heavy horse charge. They are light ponies where there are dudes with sticks on ponies' backs with art with like whatever. Okay. Now, all that aside, what's really effective? What they realize is effective with catapults. You could launch giant catapults with burning fire because fire kills them. So going, let's not put the catapults inside the protection of the wall. Let's put them in the front of our army because that makes the most logical sense for where I'd want to put a giant catapult. And then let's it's called a trench. And if you see the reason why most medieval warfare sieges take years or took years is because people dug giant ditches into the front of their castles. So you couldn't just run up to the wall and scale it, because you would have to go into a giant ditch, fill the ditch, then scale the wall. And as your men are coming up to pour stones into the ditch, guess what's happening to them? Archers, hundreds of them, with crossbows, are shooting them. This is how you win a warfare against an enemy sieging your castle. Any basic siegeman like knowledge in terms of how to defend Winterfell, but you know what, the annoying thing was it doesn't matter, because they show that they killed millions of people, they lost their army, then the next scene, oh, our army's back. Here's all our soldiers again. Let's go march on the capital. It's going with what army? You just showed in the scenes you had your entire army wiped out, but like a couple of dudes on the top of the castle. And now next scene, like, going, no, it's just jokes. We got tons more soldiers. But yeah, to your point, Neil, they clearly wanted to move on. They rushed it. They bottled it. They dropped it. It was a terrible, 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 terrible ending. And to your point, yes, you cannot recommend that show to anyone because it's just shit. It's just like, ugh.
Yep, that was it. It's an interesting thought experiment. Are the first 4 seasons of some of the best TV justification for watching the rest of it? I couldn't, in good conscience, say, "Oh, you should totally watch the first 4 seasons," and then stop, because they're going to want to find out what happens.
But that's a bad idea.
But then they'll be disappointed. But you can't impress that upon someone enough. The ending was, in my mind, that bad.
And on that note, before we turn into the Joe Rogan experience, maybe this will be one of those shows that go too long. Or too short. Let us know in the comments. Thank you guys for listening. You know the deal. thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com. If you want to reach out, follow us on the socials, Instagram, X, where all that info is in the show notes. Remember to check out our sponsors, Rebecca Castle and Martin Kearns. Both of them have new books out and new books in the works, so be sure to check them out. And for my final thought, which I haven't had one in a while, thanks to ChatGPT and Chris. Hey, you've been providing them for me. I haven't had to think for myself. Just a simple thought. Spiders are the only web developers in the world that enjoy finding bugs.
Wow.
It's
That
true.
is
true.
That is some lame bullshit you just spouted.
I'll go to Chat GPT next time. And
No. It's good to hear your organic thoughts.
yes. Anyway, thanks guys. Catch you next time. This podcast is brought to you by Martin Kearns and the Valor of Valhalla series. In the battle between 2 ancient evils, can one naive young man become the last hope against powerful creatures of legend? Beneath the Veil is the gripping first book in the Valor of Valhalla dark urban fantasy series. If you like reluctant heroes, infernal myths, and bloody epic clashes, then you'll love Martin Kearns' formidable foray into the unknown. So head on over to readkearns.com and grab yourself a copy of Beneath the Veil today.